An event called The Reach is bringing music, an encouraging message, and more to the community to close out the summer. Our Megan Marshall talked to The Reach's founder to learn more. She joins us now in the studio. Megan.
Thanks, Phyllis. The Reach was created by Tim Kraft in 2020. Its last event for this year is this Saturday and will feature musician Eddie James, a man who Kraft honors as someone in his life that took him from sobriety into true freedom. I spoke with Kraft and many other members of the community to learn how The Reach is helping others find freedom from addiction and strength in recovery.
I was around whenever they first started The Reach. It's had a huge impact on my life and other people's lives that I've seen.
It's always made a positive impact, especially with people in recovery.
Events are a lot of fun, great music, good encouraging messages. I love it, and it's the real help people need.
The Reach. It's an event that has been bringing music, faith-based encouragement, and hope to people in addiction and recovery since August of 2020. But the story of The Reach started when two people first reached out to rescue and help its founder, Tim Kraft, in 2014.
And I had a friend that I grew up with. I was in this hotel room. I had just overdosed the night before. He came and rescued me out of that place. And after that, I went into Eddie James' ministry. I saw a man of God who everything he said on the platform lived out in his real life. And I was finding this new way of living that I never knew even could exist. And it was through Eddie's ministry that I was able to find that freedom.
Kraft says The Reach started during COVID when he saw many people in recovery isolated and suicide statistics rising.
When we first started, I saw people that would never walk through a church in a million years come to The Reach. And they would listen because I was, once addicted and, they could relate to.
Carrie Britton has been in and out of addiction for around 18 years and is graduating from Angels Harbor this September. Britton says she has found freedom and she continues to see others find that freedom at The Reach.
A lot of churches say come as you are, but you don't really feel too comfortable to be exactly who you are, especially when you're coming out of addiction. You feel that guilt and that shame that I was talking about. Coming to The Reach, you see a lot of people there truly coming as they are and finding Christ. It's a beautiful thing. It's amazing.
In addiction, there is a lack of connection, according to Sarah Smith, the founder of Parkersburg's First Stigma Reduction Foundation. She says The Reach events bring community together.
So having these free events that you can come and attend is amazing, right? And it gives you hope and strength, and you see others that are there to recover as well.
Kraft recently brought The Reach into partnership with the Rock Church in Parkersburg. The pastor, David Chisholm, says the growth he has seen in people like Carrie, who are connected to The Reach and Kraft, has been amazing.
Tim's able to come in and provide a means to reach those that are dealing with addiction, and that is a tough deal. I was an addict when I was young. I was a drug addict. I was an alcoholic, so I know that lifestyle. And every week when I watch the folks' lives changing, to me, it's worth everything.
Belpre Police Chief Mike Stump has worked in law enforcement for 28 years and alongside Kraft for the last 10 years. He says The Reach is a group that wants to see lives changed and seeks to build people up.
A lot of these people coming out of that life haven't felt real love. They've either been abandoned by family, they've been abandoned by friends, things like that. And number one is we as Christians or as believers, we share our love with them, but we can love them because Christ loved us. These people are experiencing things that they've never experienced in their life, and it's much stronger than the addiction, and it's just them grasping a hold of that.
More on The Reach, Kraft, and what others are saying about the impact on the community can be found at WTAP.com. Reporting from Parkersburg, this is Megan Marshall, WTAP News. This is home.
The Reach is having its last event for the summer on Saturday, September 20th at 7 p.m. at Bicentennial Park. It will open with Christian hip-hop rapper Cam Band, followed up by Eddie James. That's all I have, Phyllis. Back to you.